Hello gamers, welcome back to Breach Way. I've beaten the game a few times now, and I can pretty consistently beat what content is available. Now, so far, it's using an escalation level, which is very similar to the idea of ascension levels in Slay the Spire, which I think is a good choice, because the way that it works is that in order to make the game more difficult, you have to beat the game to prove that you can handle the higher difficulty. I think it's a really good system because the kind of person who wants these games to be more difficult is probably willing to play through them a few times. It worked really well in Slay the Spire, and I think it could work really well here. Although it currently maxes out at 7. Beating the boss at level 7 doesn't go any further, so I assume in the future they're going to add more levels, but for now, I can pretty consistently beat level 7 with the Arbalest. Although then again, there's also currently 2 sectors, and then the game, and that's it. Maybe there's going to add a 3rd sector. Ideally, it'd be cool if there were more bosses, other than the 2 that we have right now. When you compare this to other games, other roguelikes, obviously there's more variety. Of course, this is all because the game is early access, and those are finished games. So hopefully the dev team will expand on the content in the future. But for now, I'm just not going to get into my criticisms or my thoughts on the game design too much. I'm just going to play the game for now and talk about how to approach this strategically. So you get up to 3 perk slots. You only start with 1, but after playing it a little bit, you unlock a couple more. And you unlock a bunch of different perks. I've got most of them except for this one. This one you just grind away at slowly, really. It's every time you upgrade your mass capacity, you get a little bit more progress towards it. I don't think it's too important anyways. Like, I'm probably never going to pick this perk. Not unless I end up switching it to another ship that has a specific strategy where I need a ton of mass. But I doubt it. I really doubt it. In any case, we're just going to start with the basic starting ship. It's got this little built-in perk here. Hot Reload. Every 8th attack costs 0 ordnance. This just gives you a little bit of extra firepower and generally synergizes with higher cost attacks. So like if you play a 2 cost attack like Catalyst Pulse, you're only saving 2 ordnance. But there are some attacks that can cost up to 6 ordnance, and firing that for 0 feels really good. So if that option comes up, it's a good choice. Now for the perks chosen here, you start with Savings as your initial perk. The ones that I think are really good for this ship be, at the very least, Upgraded Reactor. Getting more power is very useful. Arsenal to increase your ordnance capacity. Like, the capacity is just how many reactor points you're allowed to put into each system. It's very similar to the power system from FTL, but instead of directly powering the equipment on your ship, it's how much of each type of fuel you generate each turn. Each type of resource, which is, I like this system. I think this is a very, very robust system to build the rest of the gameplay on. And for the last perk, I mean, there's a couple of different choices. Extra subsystems choices in shops. That's decent. Subsystems are very important, and they can do a lot to make your ship much more powerful. The other one is Lock and Load, where you receive a random compatible subsystem as a combat reward for free after defeating your 3rd enemy. So this one makes shops more valuable by giving them a wider selection. This gives you 1 for free after your 3rd combat. So I think both of those are fairly decent choices. The other one's like bonus fuel. On the highest difficulty, fuel can get very expensive, so that's also okay. This I don't really see much of a use for. Extra energy capacity. You're probably not going to run into that issue unless you really lean into energy-heavy weapons, which I'm not going to be doing. And savings, 40 credits at the start is just not much. Like, that's pretty bad. This is definitely the worst perk. Which I guess is not such a big concern because it is the default starting perk, but it would be nice if it was something a little more viable. The only issue is, of course, if you give the player a bunch of extra credits at the start, there's not really a lot interesting you can do with that other than, like, run... No, there really isn't. It's just it's just not an interesting perk design compared to anything else. But whatever, that's not too important. I'm going to go with Lock and Load. We'll get that free subsystem. You know what? Actually, let's overstock. Because I'm going to try and visit every station if possible. Yeah, let's go with that. I mean, the animations in this game are really nice. That's something that they definitely deserve credit for. The aesthetics of the ships are very pretty, and the animations look good. Like the docking and then the undocking animation at the stations is just beautiful. They've even got like little reaction thrusters on the ship that help it orient itself. It's very pleasing to look at. So we get that 1 extra reactor power. Gonna drop that into ordnance. And here we have the first combat that you have to go through to get into the game. You have to pass through this blockade. Now, of course, the idea is that most of the blockade is actually distracted with a bunch of other stuff that's going on, so you end up only fighting a little drone. And you should be able to get through this without taking any damage. You just target lock, throw up conservation. What that does is for the rest of the turn, every 2 ordnance you spend generates 1 energy. There's a lot of cards like this. I think most of them kind of suck. Keeping around conservation is okay. But yeah, there's like, you will see when we get to the cards reward selection. I'll be able to go over that a bit more, especially if we see one of those pop up. Alright, and I'm going to drop some power out of mass, because we only really need that 1 in case I need to throw up a barrier, which I really shouldn't, because I've disabled their attacks. What I do need is more ordnance, and shifting the power around does cause your ship to heat up, so you can't do it too much. You can't just like drive around like 3 power per turn. Catalyst Pulse. It's just a laser that costs a mix of ordnance and energy, and for the rest of the turn gives +1 damage to your lasers. Now the way that it's worded, I initially thought that how this worked is that you play other laser attacks first, and that for each one you play, then fire this off last, it would increase the catalyst damage. But I guess from the name Catalyst, I really should have thought it was the other way around. But like the way that the card is worded left me confused. Regardless, we're going to kill this little blockade gunship. You can see here, you're already running into one of the limitations that that's gonna be very important, especially in boss fights, where you use up all your cards, and then they go on cooldown, and then you don't end up drawing anything. In shorter fights throughout the game, that's mostly not going to be an issue, because like right now it's an issue because I only have 1 weapon with only a few attacks. By the time we get to serious fights, that's not going to be an issue, except for boss fights that can go on for quite a lot longer. Now between these, I could grant, like, you can fit up to 4 cards into this resource bay, and they're all going to be cards like this, and you really don't need that. Especially not early on. Picking these cards early on is a poor choice. Maybe you can get a couple more, but I don't really see a lot of situations where you would want 4 of them, especially since you can fit 2 resource bays onto the ship. Ideally, I think that cutting down the number of... Maybe, like, instead of having up to 4 cards, cut it down to 2 cards, but make the cards higher quality, because that would make it a lot more exciting to invest in buying more resource bays, where as it is, a lot of the time, the main reason to buy more of these is to get more subsystem slots. But we'll get into that when we get into that. Preheater, I don't really have any cards with Ignite, so this being a card that synergizes with Ignite cards is not going to be very useful to me. I mean, in theory, I could get another laser that has a lot of Ignite cards, but banking on that and picking this now doesn't seem like a very good choice. PDC Burst, probably going to want one of these at some point. If you're up against a ship that doesn't have missiles, you just right-click it, discard it from your hand, and it's going to go on cooldown for a few turns. No big deal. Or you can even, in some cases, just shoot it at the enemy. It's not going to do a lot of damage, but it helps chip away at their health. But I'm not going to pick that just yet either, because the PDC array basically always picks up PDC Burst as an option. It's pretty much always going to be there. What's not always going to be there is Surge. I like Surge a lot, because there's a lot of cases where you have your shields down, and the enemy's going to fire like 2 weapons at you. One of them does like 4 damage, and one of them does 6 damage. And you can only use your guns to disable one option. So obviously you're going to disable the one that does 6 damage, and then there's still 4 damage coming in at you. And that's where Surge comes in. For 1 energy, you just block that 4 damage. It's as simple as that. It's got a good return ratio. The upside of giving yourself the shield duration, if you already have shielding, is honestly more of a downside than anything. Because in theory, you could stack up a bunch of shield points and then play this to keep them from decaying. But a lot of the time, what ends up happening is that you only end up really triggering that when you're sitting at like 1 or 2 shield points and you wanted to get +4, but instead you end up getting shield duration on 2 shield points, which is useless. So it ends up feeling like more of a downside than anything. Yeah, because you can see here, you're paying a total of 4 resources for 6, whereas if you have no shield points, you can pay 1 energy to get them. Plus, there's a subsystem that reduces the energy cost of your shield cards by 1. So if you get that, then this is free. Nothing beats free. That's why I am going to take that Surge. Overall, I think it's a pretty good choice. Alright, here, we're going to pick up a second weapon. Right, we get this guy. Incoming message request, Captain. It's impossible to isolate the source with so many ships grouped together. And then unknown contact. I don't know what he's made of. He's made of blue. He's made of blue. Greetings, Captain. Impressive skills you've shown there. I could use the services of a bold freelancer such as yourself. I'm a data broker by trade, willing to offer a generous reward in exchange for some valuable intel. I need to gather data on the strength of the ships in the sector, and by the looks of it, this isn't the last fight you'll get yourself into. Send me your combat logs after 6 combat encounters, and I'll transfer 150 credits on delivery. Oh, and Captain, pick a weapon from my reserves while you're at it. You'll need all the firepower you can get. Consider it an investment in your future. So pretty much you always get a quest, whether that's, visit a certain number of waypoints, or defeat 2 elite enemies, or kill 6 enemies. You always get some kind of quest here that gives you 150 credits as a reward. Yeah, that's pretty important to beat that quest, so you can kind of jumpstart your funds and then visit a station and buy some equipment. You also get a free piece of equipment. Now, out of the choices here, I pretty much always take missile racks if they're available. And the reason for that is because when you visit stations, almost every single station has weapon options. Whether it's railguns or ion cannons, anything that uses the weapon mount, they're pretty much always going to have some kind of option there. Whereas missile racks, I've had runs where I visit every single station in both sectors and find 0. They just, sometimes you find them, and sometimes you find straight up nothing, which means that the launch bay just sits empty for the entire run. And that's not ideal. Missiles are valuable, they're worth having. So if I can take them now and guarantee that I'm going to have them, that's good. Whereas if I don't take this railgun, there's a much better chance that I'm going to find something to fill out that second weapon slot. So if we go over here now, here's that missile rack. You can see it uses the launch bay instead of a weapon mount. Now currently, it seems like the only thing that goes into the launch bay is this missile rack. There's, like, for the weapon mounts, you can see there's railguns, there's lasers, there's ion cannons, there's a lot of different things. Utility hardpoints, there's resource bays, but there's also, like, engineering units. There's different types of shields. The PD Suiray is taking up this auxiliary mount, but sometimes you can take a hacking unit. Even the external attachment, you have a choice between missile pods and a radiator. So pretty much every mount, every slot, has multiple different things, but currently the launch bay only has missiles. I'm going to assume that's just because they haven't finished the other options, because it would be a bit weird if it was just missiles. Like, I can easily imagine an alternative, like a drone fabricator. I mean, you look at FTL, the ships can launch drones, and I don't doubt that there's some inspiration from FTL in this game. So it would be cool if as an alternative to missile racks, you could have like a drone fabricator in the launch bay. Now, exactly how that would work mechanically, I don't know. It would just be really cool. Okay, so we've got 4 stations, and here up in the right, these relationships are determined by which ship you start with. The Arbalest maxes out with free roamers, which means that they count as allies. Preserving that relationship is pretty valuable because it means if we visit their station, we get repairs for free, or if we're at full hull when we visit the station, it increases the quality of the goods available. So either way, you're getting something out of that deal. So if we get to events where you have choices that might piss them off, we're going to avoid those. Whereas the other factions doesn't matter as much. For factions with lower relationships, you have to bribe them in order to actually dock at their stations. So that's kind of the downside of really pissing off factions. If you get low enough, I believe 0 to 1, they hate you and you can't dock at their stations at all. If you're at 2 to 3, they dislike you and or you have to bribe them to let you into their stations. And then, 4 to 5, you just have a normal interaction. So like the Starkin here, we would just dock normally. And then at 6 is when they're allied to you, as with the free roamers. Now with 3 fuel and the ability to buy more fuel at these stations, we should be able to follow the current all the way down and then use our fuel to then climb back up, drop down, climb back up. Because the way that this works is that these blue lines are kind of like rivers all pushing you towards the end. And ideally what you want to do is you want to hit as many of these nodes as possible to try and pick up as many events as possible and gather as much resources as you can. So you want to do generally is follow the river down and then use your fuel to climb back up and climb across the streams, climbing back up like this, and then get back up here and then fall back down again. Right? If you just use your fuel to take them as alternate routes, so let's say you go here and then use your fuel to go here, 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 and then go back down, you didn't really hit any extra points. You just burned your fuel to take an alternate route. There's not really any point to that. Instead, what you want to do is just take the free ride down and then use your fuel to climb back out of that and then fall back down again. That's going to let you hit a lot more points and gather a lot more resources before fighting the boss at the end of the sector. Now, we're going to try and sort that route out so that we actually hit as many of these stations as we can. It seems like the easy way to do it would be to go for this green one first. Then from there, spend our fuel to go here, here, and here, hit this station, which will then let us back onto the mainstream, fall down to here, then from there we can burn fuel up to here, and potentially go straight here, or we could take a left, go up this way, and just burn as much fuel as we can to get as far back up as we can, before then falling down and hitting this just before we get to the boss fight. So that looks like the route I'm going to take, and along that route, I should easily be able to fight at least 6 enemies. That leaves me with the choice of either going to one of these waypoints. I'm going to go to the one I'm allied at. I don't necessarily think that results in better outcomes, but what do you want to do? Well, we've got an engineer. I'm not going to send credits. Hopefully this works, and we get a subsystem out of that. Command unit is actually one of the better ones, because one of the limitations in the game is the number of cards you draw is based off of the amount of crew you have. So with having 4 crew, like the minimum is 1 plus the amount of crew you have. So that means currently we have 5 cards in hand. This command unit gives you another card. And that's really important because you draw up to your hand size every single turn. So the more hand size you have, the more card draw you have. And those are the main limitations, right? You need to have lots of cards, and you need to have lots of resources to play all those cards. The more both, the better. Yeah, command unit, definitely want to grab that one when you see it available. Now, obviously, that was a random reward. I didn't know I was going to get a command unit, but it is a pretty good pickup this early on. Alright, here's another easy battle. Let's see, spread shot. Yeah, this tends to fire every turn. It's going to do 4 damage. I mean, we're not gonna take that lying down. Once again, target lock. Follow that with conservation. Double laser pulse. Shut that down immediately. Since all that conservation gave us extra energy, we don't really need to put as much reactor power in there, and so you can switch over to ordnance. And attack calibration is not going to matter if we just shut off their weapon. Although turning these off can be a bit more valuable against ships that have a lot more slots. Against these early ships, you can just kind of ignore the buffs and go after the weapons directly. Okay, missile loader. Oh yeah, I didn't talk about this card when I bought it. So the thing about missiles is they do have a delay before they hit the target, and they can be shot down by point defense. And after you use them, they deplete, so you don't get them back. They have limited ammo. For all those downsides, the upside is that they just do more damage than everything else. Like a laser pulse is 3, and it says 5 because it's buffed by the target lock, but if you ignore that, it's a baseline of 4 damage. 3 ordnance points for 4 damage. The Star Flare is 2 ordnance points for 6 damage. So 1/3 less ordnance, and it does 50% more damage. Now, obviously, the laser pulse, not only does it come back around, but it's also precision damage that lets you disable things. But like having a mix of both is pretty effective, where you use your laser pulses, disable the enemy weapons, and then fire off a bunch of missiles to obliterate their hull. The missile loader uses mass and then creates new missiles. So in a longer battle, I mean, it's got a cooldown of 8, which is very long, but, you know, in a longer battle, this does give you more ammunition to work with. That's the whole idea behind that one. Honestly, the 8 turns might be a bit too long, but whatever. It's not that important right now. The important thing is fire a Catalyst Pulse first, then a Laser Pulse. Then we're going to end turn. Attacking a broken piece of equipment doesn't really do anything, which is why I'm going after that here. Yeah, I'm kind of out of attacks as it is, so we're gonna use the mass that we have to load more missiles. So next turn we're actually going to draw some attacks. Fire off the missile that we do have. Let's see. So I'm going to draw all of these cards on my next turn, which is why I'm going to right-click this barrier to open up a slot. Yeah, they're down to 7 hull. I mean, I could use a surge to block that spread shot, but I don't need to because I can just finish them off. And those explosions are very satisfying. Alright, so we've got some interesting choices. PDC Burst has come back again, as expected. Rampart is, you can see the gold ones are meant to be rare. Doesn't always mean that they're a good choice, but they are rarer. So it costs 1 more energy and 1 more mass than a regular barrier. And instead of 6 shield, it gives 10 shield and 1 shield duration. So that one can be pretty nice. Honestly, I might take it. Looking at our other options, the Reaper is a bit of a weird one. It does more damage the more missiles you already have in flight. I don't know how that works. How does the missile knows where you are because it knows where it isn't? The missile knows where it is because it knows where it isn't. Something like that. Yeah, mechanically I'm not sure, like, lore-wise I'm not sure how it does that, but it just does. Although the ratio's not great, it is... I mean, the baseline damage is the same as the Star Flare, but it's a lot more expensive to launch. So you really do need to fire off a bunch of missiles first to actually make this good. And it can be very good in a massive missile volley. But we don't have that yet. Now, Test Fire, this is a common card, but I find it really, really good. Your next laser attack costs 4 less ordnance. So being able to stack this up and then fire off a laser pulse for free, or there's some more expensive laser cards that cost 4 ordnance or 6 ordnance, and so firing this and then following up with one of those, very effective. I'm not exactly sure why a Test Fire would work that way, but it just does. So I think I'm going to grab that one. It does let you, especially since Catalyst, like you've got bonuses like Catalyst Pulse that only last for the turn. So being able to fire off as many in one turn as possible to maximize that bonus is pretty useful. Conflict Zone Allied. Yeah, an unarmed free roamer civilian ship is being attacked and is requesting assistance, so you can potentially lose relations by dodging the fight, but we want to actually do the fight so we can get some resources. Most of the time you want to go picking fights as much as possible. Alright, Heavy Barrage, 10 damage, Shred 4. Really don't want to take that. Shield Pulse. Not as worried about that. Okay. So, if we look at our cards, sort by cooldown, so in the deck we've got 3 attacks in the deck. And if I just fire these 2 at that, then there's a good chance that I'll draw. I mean, the chances that I won't draw one are pretty low, because I'm thinking about firing one, doing 4 damage, and then using this to boost the next one to 6 damage, so I can disable it immediately. But I don't think I need to. I'm almost certainly going to draw another Laser Pulse to finish it off next turn. Then again, shield pulse. So, yeah, I don't think I'm actually going to have enough energy to do that. I mean, there's definitely a non-zero chance that I could just take 10 damage here, which I don't really want to do. So I think I am going to burn this, especially since, you know, if I spend 3 command points to use his ability, I'm getting 3 command points every node that I jump. So you basically get one, as long as you're at max points, you can use one of these for free, essentially. So I'm going to do that here just to make sure that gets shut off, and I don't have to worry about it. Oh, you know what? I really should have used conservation first. That's my bad. I forgot about that. I was too busy talking about this guy. And that being said, I can use it next turn, and I'm going to get plenty of energy out of this, so I can reduce that production, increase that production preemptively. And I'm going to burn some mass to load up some missiles. We'll see how that goes. I'm actually going to right-click the surge here because I want to draw as many attacks as possible while their only attack is disabled. So I ended up drawing only missiles. That's interesting. Well, let's throw up a conservation and fire all of them. Or 2 of them, I guess. Can't fire all of them. I'll even transfer that over as well. See what we got. Yeah, no kidding. So let's start with the target lock. So Catalyst Pulse first. So that applies bonus damage to this, and then that reduces the cost of this, and then it's over. Infrared. This works well in a Ignite build, but yeah, I'm not doing that right now, so I don't see much value in this. It's only got Ignite 1, so by itself it's not really going to heat the enemy ship up much. And the result is 3 ordnance to do 3 damage is just kind of worse than a basic laser pulse, for the most part. Like, I don't see myself overheating the enemy with this. Ion Missile is pretty cool. It costs a bit more energy rather than ordnance, and does a bunch of ion damage. Now, what does ion damage do? Well, it's very efficient against shields. Right? You can see here 12 ion damage. That translates to 12 shield damage. But hits against hull instead work a little differently, where every 6 points of ion damage to the enemy hull removes 1 pip from a random action. So the way it disables the enemy is a bit randomized, unlike these, which you can destroy enemy equipment. These drain the action pips from their equipment. So combined, these can be very effective, because you might disable an enemy equipment when it's just about to fire, and it's still got those pips stored up. And then you hit them with some ion weapons to drain out those pips, so even after it repairs, it's still got to redo the whole firing cycle. It can be a very effective combination. Or if they have shields, relying on ion weaponry to deal with the shields is generally more efficient. Grid Fire is a rare option, but I don't particularly like it. It's 3 and 3, and it shoots down up to 3 missiles for 1 card. It's just not great. I don't think, because most situations you're only going to have 1 missile incoming. It's pretty uncommon where you have multiple missiles incoming, which means that in most situations you're just paying more resources to do the same job as a basic PVC shot. Now, in situations where it would be good, it would be really good. But those situations are just not very common, so I'm going to ignore it. Hasty Defense, you spend mass, you lose some hull points, and you get a really good ratio on your shield points, and you get some duration. It's even more powerful than Rampart. But it does cost you hull, so maybe a decent choice. It can be a pretty decent choice. But I'm not going to pick that. I'm going to pick the Ion Missile. Another waypoint. Sensors just picked up signs of what appears to be an unmarked credit cache not too far from here. Uploading the coordinates. Right. We might hit this. When I first played and I saw events pop up like this on the opposite side of the sector, I was like, that's nonsense. There's no way I'm going to get that. But it turns out if you use your fuel correctly, you actually can't hit those. Alright, some elite combat. And then a station, and we'll see what options we have there. So we're seeing a spread shot. that does make missiles a lot less effective, so ideally I'd like to disable that. Titanium shells shred a lot, so I'm probably going to block that on turn 2. Hopefully I draw a shield card for that. Okay, so let's start with this. Let's get conservation going. Fire up the target lock. Catalyst pulse. If I fire this at spread shot, I'm going to be 1 short, so I'm going to burn his ability. Make sure that gets disabled. And I'm going to switch that over. And then we're going to cross our fingers and hope we draw a barrier. Yeah, there we go. And that covers the damage from this. And then we're going to start chipping away at it. End turn. Yep, they're stacking up target analysis, now they're going to be doing more damage. That is, if they can hit us. Yeah, let's fire that off. Let's drain some pips. Fire that off. We're not being attacked immediately, so I'm not going to try and test fire into it, especially when there's no other... Like, I want another laser card here so that I can actually get some value out of this.
Enemy operations delayed.
So that did drain the spread shot, but it did not drain the titanium, which is unfortunate. It's going to do 6 damage. We're sitting on 5 here. Okay. Now I could try and throw up some defenses, but it is 7 damage, which is a bit hard. I think what I'm going to do here is force production, gain 2 of each resource. This is a very good ability. This one's very good. Let's see here, because now I can fire the bottleneck here was energy. I should probably have done this a couple turns ago. Switch back over. Should be able to fire this, and then follow it up with the laser pulse for free, and then load up some missiles. So the spread shot is coming, that's fine. We're going to use the surge to... No, now it does 5 damage, so we'd actually have to use a barrier to block that.
Shields up, Captain.
We're going to... I don't think I actually need that much. We'll just do this for now. Don't want to fire missiles into a spread shot because it also takes out one of your missiles. So that would be a less than ideal choice. Our conservation. Let's see if we can break this. That's going to survive. I mean, I'm drawing 3 cards next turn, so it's not like I need to open up those slots, so I'm going to hold on to those. I'll be throwing out a surge to block that. I could also use Rin's ability for emergency shielding to get another 4, but I'm comfortable taking 2 damage here. I think the next turn this is going to be reloading. No, it's going to be a flak barrage. Okay. Titanium shells incoming is not ideal, but it is what it is. So we can disable that. Don't have enough damage to disable the titanium shells, so we're going to take another 2 here. But it's fine, and we'll get into why. Taking exactly 4 damage is fine. Fire up with the star flares. Only drawing 1 card next turn. Unfortunate, but we should be able to finish them off with these missiles. Man, that's satisfying. Alright, and because it's elite, we got 2 options for each one. Grid Fire versus PDC Burst. Ordnance Surge, you gain 4 ordnance, and you get 1 heat, but then you lose 4 at the end of the turn. So it's like temporary ordnance. Like, you only really want to use this if you're spending all of it. Same thing with Energy Surge, but for energy. You got another Surge, a hasty defense. Not bad options. Another Test Fire. Although, really, I've already got a Test Fire. I'd rather pick out something that's more expensive to get more benefit out of it. Beam Sweep. It's got a nice ignite value and a better damage ratio, but it's not a precision weapon, so you can't target anything with it. Not exactly what I'm going for here. And then we've got a choice between another Starflare and another Ion Missile. And I do have the Missile Loader to get those Starflares, but... probably one of these. Let's go with the Ion Missile. And Primer. This is a subsystem. At the start of combat, you get 1 extra card slot on the first turn, and that card slot is filled by whatever equipment you plug that into. Now that can be very nice when synergized with another subsystem called Alpha Strike, where on the first turn of combat, the first card you play from that equipment costs 0. So if you have Primer plus Alpha Strike both loaded into this laser, and we get something really expensive in there, it costs like, say, 6 ordnance, there's a decent chance that you just draw it on the first turn, because you're guaranteed to draw something thanks to this, and then the Alpha Strike would make it free. Can be very powerful. Throw that in there. So the reason it's okay to have like 4 points of damage is because of his passive ability, Engineer. There's a chance to repair hull damage after combat encounters. How much repair do you get? Exactly 4. So taking 4 damage is acceptable. Or I guess in this case, if I took 4 damage again, it wouldn't be super nice. I'd rather go back up to 50. But being at 46 exactly is okay, is what I'm saying. All right, we've got 243 credits. Let's head over to the station. And we can just dock, no issues, because we have moderate relations with the Starkin. So there's a lot here. There's 6 different subsystem options, a bunch of different equipment, buying fuel, and normally fuel has a consistent price in at the baseline, but as you go up the escalation levels, they start jacking the prices. So if the first is going to be 30, and then 40, and then 50, and then that price hike carries over to other stations, which it needs to, because fuel just gives you so many more opportunities. Like at 30 credits, it's a steal. It's an absolute steal. Let's look at these options. Paint target, I think there's a lot of good options here. I think I'm going to actually sell the Primer to get some of these. So there's Alpha Strike. This is what I was talking about. This synergizes very well with Primer. But there's better things I can be doing. Dynamo, you plug this into shield or hacking, and it reduces the energy cost. So getting that with Surge is very nice. But I think I've got better options here, because there's a missile pod. So we can get even more missiles by plugging this into the external attachment here. Now the other thing that fits into that is like a radiator. And I want to like the radiator, but the cards that it gives you are just too low quality. Like, they just aren't good enough. In theory, it would be cool to have, like, this piece of equipment that sort of amplifies your baseline weapons, like your lasers and your railguns, at the cost of heating up your ship, but then also it gives you cards that let you dissipate that heat. Like, that's the idea behind it, and that sounds really cool. It's just that it's just bad at it. That's the problem. Whereas the missile pod just gives you more damage. So, I'm going to be taking that. The other thing that I want, you can see I've only got 123 credits left, I want Paint Target. Because this means that if you do hull damage with a laser, for the next 2 turns your missile attacks do 35% more damage. Obviously, when I've got missile racks and missile pods, being able to do that with my laser is very effective. So I've already got a good strategy going here. Now, crew activities, you can either unwind and get extra morale for the next couple of nodes. I'm already pretty close to my maximum command points anyways. Like one more jump and I'm going to be up there. So I don't really need that. Instead I'm going to get combat training. First attack of the next combat does 50% bonus damage. So you basically take unwind if you're really low on command points. But otherwise you take combat training. Don't have a lot left. So I'm going to buy some fuel. These two seem like they might be useful, but they're not really, because adding a card, you get that after every combat, so I'm not going to spend 30 credits on that. Removing a card can be useful, but for the most part, you just want to pick good cards after combat. So it's more of an issue for when you don't actually know which cards you want, because you're not as familiar, like when you're earlier on in the game. But once you've got a little experience, this becomes less useful. Aside from when you buy a new piece of equipment and it just has bad card, just like a bad card that you don't want, then removing it can be useful. Let's buy a bit of fuel, get that repair back up. All right, let's get out of here. Zoom in. And now we depart the station. Yeah, so we're going to go here, 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 then come back up to the Allied station, and then go here. So it's going to cost us 2 fuel to get up there, and then hopefully we can buy some fuel, then fall back down, and then we can come up this way. And we might jump here, or we might jump over to the left, in which case we can then jump here, and then fall down, or spend more fuel. Depends on how much fuel we get. It depends. But we're in a pretty good spot. We've got paint target, and we've got 2 missile weapons, so that's a very good start. Command unit's also a good subsystem. Let's go face more combat. Yeah, we're just getting attacked by pirates. Unsurprising. Nothing to see here. Alright, so phase. This, if you have a tactical card, which is the ones with the green at the top, it removes that card from your hand and adds a system disruption, which you have to pay 3 energy to remove. Now, you can right-click it to discard it, but then you're going to end up back in your draw pile, so you really do want to spend the energy to get rid of it. Or just... There's a couple other ways of dealing with this, which is, of course, shutting off the hacking system. Or, if you have no tactical cards in hand, then phase doesn't really do anything. Take that, phase clan. Beam sweep and light torpedo. This is the kind of thing that we'd really like point defense for. Which I don't have any yet. Yes. For some reason, the PDCs start with a target acquiring... What's it called? What's the exact name? Target lock. This is what they start with, instead of any PDC bursts. Okay. So, torpedo mechanics are a bit interesting. They require you... Unlike other missiles, instead of taking 1 turn, they take 2 turns to get there. So they're a bit slower. And then on top of that, you actually have to have a certain amount of production. So if I drop this down to 2, even though I have the points to pay for it, my production is too low. It's a unique mechanic specifically for torpedoes. But in exchange, they just have a better damage ratio. Where, like a star flare, you're paying 2 ordnance points to get 6 damage. A light torpedo is 2 ordnance points for 8 damage. And currently that's being boosted by 50%. Now, ideally, I'd remove these and just get full-on torpedoes, but we're going to have to wait for later on to do that. Yeah, if I test fire into laser pulse, I can just disable this immediately, but I don't think that's a major issue. I think I'm going to fire the light torpedo first. Then we're going to try and disable the light torpedo that they have. Still got the points to fire this as well. Nice. Probably not going to need the extra mass beyond 3. That's fine. So you can see here, even though I fired the iron missile second, it only takes a turn to get there, so it's now first in queue. And even if they disrupt one of these barriers, I've got another one, so I can block the beam sweep. And you can see here it's tagged. Which, now that I think about it, probably should have fired the lasers first. Because the Alpha Strike only applied to the torpedo there. Oh well, it's not like it's a big deal. This is a fairly early fight. A little sequencing error here and there is not going to be the end of the world. Not unless you make it the end of the world. I don't actually have enough points to play this. Well, that's less than ideal. Now, I could play a surge and I could just take 2 damage, which is fine. Yeah, seems good to me. I mean, I could even burn that to get a little extra shielding. Make sure I take no damage here. Might as well. I'm not worried about running out of command points. And he's dead. Flawless. So I could get another light torpedo, grid fire again, not really interested. Auto shield. So, compared to barrier, it only costs 3 energy, no mass. And it draws you a shield card from your draw pile. Which, if there is one, it ends up giving you 4 shielding. Or, well, not 4 shielding, gives you 6 total, if it actually draws one. However, if your draw pile doesn't have any shield cards and it fails to draw one for you, you only get 4. It's okay, it's whatever. Eruptive Blast is really what I'm looking for here, because this is what I'm talking about when I said an expensive card. This is the one. That's the big one. I mean, test fire would reduce its cost by 4. So if you play test fire, then eruptive blast only costs 2. I mean, playing it by itself costs 6, but if you play test fire and eruptive blast together, it only costs 4 ordnance points. So that's a pretty big deal. Not to mention the hot reload of the system of the ship itself. Sometimes you just get this for free. It does 6 precision damage and 6 regular damage. So it's just a lot of damage loaded into one card. We're taking that 100%. Alright, so let's see. Another conflict zone. What happens here? They're just going to attack us. Alright. We're unauthorized to be in this location, I guess. See, slice. Yeah, I'd rather not take that damage. I think I'm going to focus on disabling the beam sweep if I can, and I'm just going to block the slice for now. I'll start off with a surge. Target lock. I only have missiles in hand, so that's not super useful. Which is a bit of a shame, because it means I can't tag the enemy before firing all of these. I mean, I could wait to try and grab some lasers, but that is going to burn a lot of time on nothing. So I'm going to lead with the ion missile, because I want it to hit the shield first. Then we're going to fire the star flare, and then we fire that. And I still have some points. I can throw up a target lock, even though nothing's benefited from it. Like this only boosts weapons that do precision damage. It doesn't boost any of these. But the condition to keep it going is to just attack, even if the attack itself doesn't benefit from the lock. So I might as well spend my resources on it to open up my hand a little bit more. See, there we go. Incoming 10 damage. Well, I'd rather reduce that if I can. So that's 5, and then that's going to do 6. So I could do 11, which would let me disable this one, which has more. But this is what's doing more damage here. So we're going to just disable that. And then we're going to use her emergency shielding to block this slice. Oh, look at that market left. 0 damage, by the way. I mean, the effects that they leave behind are nice. Although they don't seem to repair, even if you repair up to full hull. Like, you can lose a bunch of hull, get your ship nose just completely covered in soot, and then even after repairing back to full, the soot just stays there. You know, it's just hanging out now. It's part of the crew, part of the ship, part of the crew. So I want to put up a shield, which means I'm going to use conservation followed by a light torpedo, which is going to give me the energy I need to put up a shield barrier. Don't really see myself playing this. We're pretty close to just finishing them off. So I'm going to drop that and move out of mass into energy. So I at least have enough next turn to play this, if I need to. They get their shielding up. Here comes 10 damage from the torpedo. Next turn, here comes eruptive blast. Well, they're not attacking this turn. They're on cooldown. That's fine. I think I want to hit their generator if I can.
Enemy shields down.
And, I should have played it. You know what? I should have been paying attention to this, because I could have used a laser pulse, and then I would have got that for free, and then I could have played the other laser pulse and just killed them right now. At the end of the day, that doesn't end up mattering, because they're still going to die. But still, for a boss fight, that might matter. What have we got? Ion missiles are decent. But I think I'm going to decline to pick these until I just roll up the regular torpedo, because those are very powerful. Hasty defense is decent, but I'd rather go for surge if I can. So I think I'm going to pick up a PDC burst. Having one of those is pretty useful. I'm going to hit another conflict zone, then we're going to go here, drive back up. Okay. People be fighting me. I don't know the reasons why. There's just a crosshair. What can I say? So this is going to take out any missile if I just fire. If I fire them, so I don't want to deal with that. Ideally, I'll just disable that as soon as possible. I mean, that's one way of doing it. You could throw that up. Now it's 7. 10 precision damage and 9 regular damage. So now it's disabled, which means that over the next couple turns I can just fire off my missiles and have no issue. Seems good to me. Opening shot, 4 damage, 3 shed, double the shred if you don't have brittle yet. You can pause to read that if you like. Okay. So I think what I want to do here... They don't have missiles, so I'm just going to use the PDC burst to attack them. And they are still tagged, so firing my missiles right now is a good idea. Lead with the ion missile so that this hits the shield. Follow up with the star flare. And we'll just plink them for a couple points of damage. And then we use surge to block that opening shot.
Enemy operations delayed.
Just like that. Let's see. I can do... Ooh, I can't fire both of these, so I can't actually stop the light barrage. So I'm going to throw up a shield. I guess I should just fire... Yeah, what I should do is, even though it's kind of... It's wasting the second ability of the catalytic pulse, that's fine. Because I'm just using this to tag the enemy, get that tag bonus before I fire off my torpedo. Next turn I should be able to... Oh wait, no, I should have moved out of mass over to... Oh, I messed that up. I should have moved out of mass into energy. I'm a 1 short for the barrier. That sucks. Well, I could still use Rin to block that anyways, if I need to. What I want to do is shut that off. Just because this would, because the torpedo is in the air, this would actually pop, they get a chance to pop up their shields before it hits. So I want to shut that off to make sure the torpedo hits. This isn't firing this turn, it's just this. Yeah, I kind of messed it up by not doing that, so I'm going to have to burn a few more command points if I want to avoid damage here. Taking 4 damage would not be the end of the world, but might as well. I can recover those command points very quickly. Don't really want auto shield again. Already got 2 ion missiles, I'm fine with that. I'd rather wait for torpedoes. Grid fire I don't really like, so instead we're going to skip, and you do get some small amount of credits every time you skip. Alright. And there we go, we finished that contract. Now we've got 150 extra credits. Should make our next visit to the store a little more generous. Enemy has fire support from other ships in the area. Yeah. Alright. Let's have a look at what that means. Missile support. Now this is a little bit annoying, guys. The star flare should not be overlapping the text here. 1 star flare gets fired every 3 turns. That's what it says. So it is nice to know what a star flare is, but maybe don't overlap the other text. This is firing immediately. I'm going to want to block that. They do have missiles, although I mean, they're only firing fireflies, so it's not like a big deal. The big problem is phase is going to eat up one of my tactical cards, so I might just want to, at the very least, I want to throw that up to block the flak barrage. I could burn this just to do a little damage, and then right-click on this so that phase just does nothing. I think I'm going to do that. Although, I've only got missiles in hand. I think I'm going to wait for the next turn so that I can actually fire off a laser first and get the tagged bonus.
We were hacked.
Alright, well, conservation is going to have a nice day here. In fact, I'm going to switch that back over there. So, yeah, unfortunately didn't draw any defensive cards at all. Lead off with that. Yeah, we actually have exactly enough to fire everything here, so might as well. Fire off both on those, but that, fire off that. And, emergency shielding. Could take 1 point of damage. Ain't that a shame?
Enemies ionized.
Yeah, so that completely drained all of their stuff at 0 pips. We do still have this Firefly coming in, but Surge can block that just fine. Throw up a target lock. And we can even break that, too. That's not going to be firing for a while.
Incoming missile.
And there's the missile from the fire support.
Target hit, Captain.
Now, yeah, I don't think I can kill them this turn. So instead, I'm just going to throw up shields. If I can fire all of these in the same turn, it should be able to kill them. So we'll end turn and try and stock up some more ordnance. Let's lead with this. Fire this. And yeah, that did it. Yeah, I don't really do a good job keeping track of hot reload. You might notice that. It's a bit of a pattern. Firecracker is potentially really good, because there are ways to boost the flat damage of your missiles. And because this thing does the damage 3 times, every flat bonus is effectively tripled. Can be very good, but the baseline cost is significantly higher than a Star Flare for the same damage. So right now, it's not very good. And for that reason, I'm probably going to skip. It's a bit odd, because now that I think about it, if the Firecracker shows up in a missile rack, it's tagged as a rare, but when it shows up in a missile pod, it shows up as a common. That's a bit strange. Don't really need Energy Surge. I'm not too keen on picking up Hasty Defense. I don't think it's necessary. Yeah, I'd rather grab a Dynamo and go double Surge. It'll show up eventually. You know, sometimes the card you want is a little shy. Yeah, 4 hull points repaired. Well, I only took 1 point of damage, but thank you. Ideally, I want to show up at this station completely clean. If I show up with damage, you get up to 10 points of hull repair for free, because it's allied. But if you have no damage, then they upgrade the store level. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I assume it's higher quality goods or a larger selection of goods, something along those lines. Stay out of this, Captain. We have a score to settle with that Stalking ship. Alright, so free roamers are the guys we're allied with. And if we intervene, we actually piss them off. So we're not going to do that. We want to stay allied with them. Which does mean we show up, and what's going to happen? Dock? Yeah, +1 store level. There it is. Enter the hangar. Let's see what we got. None of the ones that I wanted. That's a shame. Yeah, I think I'm mainly just going to buy fuel here. Activities, combat training again. Oh, I know, Dynamo. I do want that one. That's the one that... Yeah, okay. Never mind. We do want that. Yeah. So now these only cost 2 energy, and this costs 0. Perfect. See, Radiator is the one that goes into this same slot as the missile pod, and I want to like it. Like, look at this. Dissipate up to 3 heat, but if your heat is 0, you instantly get to gain 2 energy. That's decent. What's not decent is weapon coolant. Return up to 2 attack cards from your cooldown pile to your draw pile, and it heats you up twice. You gain 2 heat. That makes perfect sense. The only problem is, why in God's name does it not return the attacks to your hand? Why does it return them to the draw pile and not your hand? If it just returned them to your hand, this would be a good... Then buying a Radiator would actually be a good investment. It would actually be solid. All it has to do is return the attacks to your hand so you can play them in the same turn. The fact that it doesn't do that makes it kind of ass. And I don't want it. I don't understand this, because there are other... So, like, there's one attack, for example, called Repeater Pulse, where you do damage to the enemy, and it also returns another laser attack from your cooldown pile to your hand. There's a number of attacks that have that kind of effect, where it's like you do damage, and then also return an attack from your cooldown pile to your hand. And that's very useful. But then for some reason, the Radiator, which should be helping you supercharge your weapons, it just returns it to your draw pile, and not your hand. There's other ships that start with the Radiator, and I gotta say, they're harder to use, because this thing just isn't very good. I mean, it's not terrible once you get up. Once your hand size is massive and you're in a long, drawn-out boss fight, then it's okay. Because you're going to have a lot of attacks on cooldown. It's okay at that point. But it's still kind of worse than missile pods. I would just have the cards returned to your hand, and just that simple change would make this a lot more exciting to use. But as it stands, I am going to skip that. Yeah, this is only useful if I have Ion. This is useful for gain 1 security for every 8 tactical cards played. I am not playing 8 tactical cards in 1 turn. This would be good if I had a Radiator, which I don't. This could be useful for a missile rack. But there's another... This one is actually super weird, though. Every 3rd missile fired in a single turn increases missile damage by 1. So you have to fire 3 missiles in a turn, and it increases the damage of future missiles by 1. Why does this even exist when there's another subsystem called Missile Lock that just straight up gives +1 missile damage? This is only going to be useful if you're firing like 12 missiles in a combat, and you have to fire them in volleys. You have to fire the 3 in a turn, and then do it again, and then you can get up to 2 damage, and then, okay, arguably it's better than Missile Lock at that point. But that's such a stringent condition that it's kind of absurd. I don't know why this even exists. You might as well sell these if you ever get them. I don't see them being very useful. Yeah, I think that's everything I need from here. I'm just going to leave now. Yeah, ideally I'm going to look for Missile Lock, because that just gives a flat damage bonus. Depart the station. Okay, so this changes things. Escape pod. That's going to contain some kind of crew, which is going to increase the number of cards we draw, and they might have a good ability. So we'll see what they've got. Hail, Captain. I never thought I'd see another face after being stuck in that tube for what felt like an eternity. I owe you my life. The least I can do is serve on your ship. Thank you, Remy Solstein. Yeah, balanced production, it's okay. Compared to force production, which is +2 of everything, it's 3 of your lowest resource, and for the same number of command points. So it's like, you get 1 more into a specific resource instead of 2 of everything. The main upside, I think, is it's got half the cooldown. This you can only use every 4 turns. This you can use every 2 turns, so you can burn through your command points faster if you want to. Or sometimes you're in a situation where you specifically need that 1 extra command point, or that 1 extra point of a resource to make the difference. So, but overall, it's not as good, even though it does have some niche upsides. It's a medic and a Starkin. Very cool. Yeah, and also, your crew has to be sitting next to a weapon to actually use their ability. If they're sitting next to an empty mount, they don't get to use their ability. AI give you extra card draw, like a crew, but they have no abilities, so you might as well just sit them next to an empty slot. Alright, so we're going to go here, then we're going to hopefully gather up some credits as we come down here, see what they've got at this station, and then use our fuel to burn up this way, and then go down here. Alright, another elite combat. Hail, Captain. You are in Starkin-controlled space. Please provide your hull identification number, as well as the identity of everyone on board. No. I'll take the hit with reputation. Because if I just give them the ID number, then what happens is nothing. You don't get any combat. And that means no reward. So laser pulse immediately, followed by one of those. And yeah, they're firing everything at this turn 1. That's fine. This is fine. Probably want to lead with a target lock. Well, maybe I throw up a barrier first, just to make sure I have enough resources. I can do both. Yeah, I can do both. I'm not going to fire my missiles yet, because I want to tag them with a laser first. In fact, I could burn this and just immediately disable the laser pulse, but I don't think I need to do that. Instead, if I do this, that just... Oh, I thought it was at 10, and a 50% increase, and now it does 14. I could have sworn this was at 10, and it should be doing 15 now. I don't know about the math on that one, because the whole idea was I was going to shut this off before it fires. But alright. It's going to do big damage regardless. And this thing is a bit weird. Gamma missile. When it hits you, it destroys all of your stored up ordnance and does equal damage to your ship. I mean, you can kind of avoid the damage from it just by spending all your ordnance, so it's not like a big deal. Let's go. Reloading their missiles, another laser pulse. This thing is incoming. And they've got shields. Well, now they've been tagged by a laser, so I can fire off my missiles without worrying about it.
Missile launched.
Don't have enough energy to fire off the second one. I guess I could do a PDC burst, destroy the missile, and then fire off this missile. There we go. Although, again, if you're at 0 ordnance, then the missile's not going to do any damage, but it is what it is. We'll take a little damage from this laser pulse. It's fine. It's an elite battle. It's fine. 7 shields, and that gets obliterated, and they get a missile hit. Okay, so Catalyst Pulse into Test Fire into Laser Pulse should be very effective. I don't have enough energy. Now I do. That's not what I'm looking for. Let's go this one. Let's just end that fight. I didn't even need to fire my torpedoes. It's as simple as that. See what we got. Flash shields can also be pretty good. 2 energy, 2 mass. You gain 9 shields, and then you lose all shields at the start of the next turn. But I don't think I'm going to be picking that. Let me get the repeater. So this costs a bit more energy than a regular PDC burst. But what it does is it stays in your hand after you use it. Now, each time you use it, it increases the energy cost. But having this is going to be very useful, especially in boss fights. Because if you only take regular PDC bursts, they're going to end up on cooldown and you're going to get hit by a torpedo. Whereas this thing, you just kind of hold on to it. And it's got that 5-turn cooldown, so if you're in a fight where you don't need it, you can just right-click it, and it's not going to come back for a while. And this is pretty much it. I wouldn't grab any more PDCs than this. Ah, thank you. So the hull damage got immediately repaired. Awesome. But yeah, when it comes to the PDCs, you don't really need more than 2. And once you go up to 3, it's a bit much. And it starts clogging up your hand with cards that you aren't playing. Getting 1 regular burst because it's cheap, and 1 PDC repeater because of the repeater aspect. That seems like a good combination to me. So we're going to throw Alpha Strike in here. And that means that if we get lucky and we draw Eruptive Blast on the first turn, it's going to be free. Isn't that awesome? Alright, so we can follow these waypoints. We're going to go here. Seems good. Yep. We're going to inspect the wreckage. We're going to start scavenging. Attempt to salvage the equipment. 30% chance of success. 10%. The wreck explodes and does 6 damage to us. I'll take that. So the way that this normally works is it fails, because it's only a 30% of success, and then you get to repeat this attempt multiple times, but each time you fail, the chance of an explosion goes up and up and up. The fact that I just got on the first one, pretty lucky. And it's a railgun. I do like the railgun. Railguns are pretty good. Railguns do precision damage just like the laser. You can see here, 3 ordnance and 2 energy for 6. This one is 2 and 2, and it heats up your ship, and the more all the way up to your tolerance, and the more heat it generates in the process, the more damage it does. So having exactly one of these can be very effective, because I'm not using my heat tolerance for anything. I'm not like really getting any value out of it, but this converts that capacity into damage very efficiently. And now, if you try to stack up too many of these into your ship, then you're going to run into issues. But as long as it's just the one, it's pretty good. Alright. That was a nice event. Yep. And we took 4 damage. That's fine. A neutral station. Let's see what they have. Although I don't have a lot of credits to work with. So another paint target, but I've already got that. Primer. Now that combines very nicely with Alpha Strike, but I would have to remove paint target to do that, so I'm not going to bother. Let's see, it's exactly the railgun I have. A different type of shield. An ion cannon. I'm not gonna switch this out. I like it. Plus, it would be, you know, I'd have to sell it and then for half price and then buy one of those. Yeah, it's not worth it. So this increases Ignite. I think this only applies to attacks that already have Ignite, which none of them do, so it's not worthwhile. This is for Flak. I already have this. This is good, but I'm not going to buy it. This is for Ion. So none of these are valuable, none of these are valuable. So okay, this is a bust. Although I don't have a lot to spend anyway, so it's probably fine for it to be a fruitless trip. Let's do combat training. Spend some credits to repair. I could buy more fuel, but I think there's going to be fuel at the next station anyways, if I really need the extra fuel. And I'd rather save my credits in case there's good equipment at the next station. So yeah. A bit lame, but it is what it is. Let's get out of here. It's time to skedaddle. We depart. Okay, so we're going to hit that, then hit the credit cache. This, yeah, and then we can come back down here with a ton of credits. Is it free? Oh yeah, because it's an allied node. Okay, I think this is the first time I've seen that. Normally I hit this event on a neutral node where one of these costs, or these both cost resources. Alright, well if it's free, then yeah. And I've got double options. That's pretty good. So high alert. This one looks really cool. But all it does is it fills your empty card slots in your hand with PDC bursts. At the cost of a bunch of resources. I think that's pretty terrible, to be honest. Like, that's just bad. Let's see. Tungsten round does less damage than the kinetic shot, but it's cheaper, and it does 50% bonus damage to equipment. That can be pretty good. Let's see, the firecracker showed up again, ion missile again, don't really want those. Blueprint, draw 2 support cards. I don't have any support cards. If I picked Blueprint, it would be my only support card, so that's not very useful. Optimization. It's the same thing as conservation, but instead of turning ordnance into energy, this turns mass into energy, into ordnance, which I am not spending a ton of mass, so that's pretty bad. Yeah, so I'm not picking anything else that's going to pop up down here. I might show it to you if it's something new, like the high alert, but yeah, this is it. This is my ideal. You might not like it, but this is peak PDC performance. Pinpoint I don't particularly like. It's a bit cheaper than a kinetic shot, and it does less damage, but it does bonus damage if the enemy already has disabled equipment, but the whole point is you're trying to disable enemy equipment with a precision weapon, so it's a bit odd to me. I mean, the art is pretty cool. I do like it. It's how it's a discarding Sabo round. In fact, I don't know why it's called Pinpoint when you could call it a Sabo. Like, the name is available. Just call it a Sabo. Shield amplifier. So this is 3 energy for 10 shield, but it requires you to already be shielded. Now, especially with Rin's ability, this can be very good, and I might pick it, because it is pretty rare. Even though ideally I'd get another surge and play it for 0. You can't really stack surges, because once you play the first one, the next one is just going to add shield duration. Whereas this, if I can play, like, I can play this and then play surge, and it'll give you 10 shielding with 1 shield duration. Or you can, if you play it in the reverse order, play this and then play this, then you end up with 14 shielding. So I think that's fine. I'll take the shield amp. Oh, what? That was it? You know, normally you get the option to do both. Okay. I mean, that's fine, I guess. Take that money. It's free money. Let's see what you got. Yeah, so this is an elite enemy, but because it's part of an allied faction, you could surprise attack them to make the elite fight easier, but that's going to be -2 to our relations, and I don't want that, so they're just going to offer me some free fuel. I will take that. Powerful combat. I'm kind of tempted to just go back down and hit that that elite combat and then go to the station. Although that does mean I'm not spending all of my fuel. I can just save this and use it in the next sector anyways. So there's no need to burn all of it immediately. Not in any rush to burn through it. Alright. Laser pulse, rampart, ion missile. Okay. Yeah, you can see Alpha Strike means that this is currently free. It does 9 damage. It's pretty good. Now we're going to throw up a conservation. Use another laser pulse to disable that so we don't take any damage. And now that we've tagged the enemy with those lasers, we can fire an ion missile first to break any shielding, just in case. I mean, this shouldn't get up in time, but we'll see. And then a light torpedo. And that's cool. I'm happy to end turn there.
Enemies ionized.
Yep, that should... I don't think that... Did that even do anything, to be honest? It doesn't look like they delayed anything except maybe the rampart. Yeah, I think they delayed this. And maybe the ion missile, but they did not delay the laser pulses. Alright, let's shift out of energy into more ordnance, because I could use that. Didn't draw any defenses, but I'll take the 4 damage. I think I'm fine. I've got 50 command points, actually. I'll just throw that up. Yeah. Get target lock going. And instead, I'm going to disable this to try and keep them from getting any defenses going.
Target hit, Captain.
Oh, this is going to do 10. So I hit here. Now their shield's not going to get up. And this torpedo's going to finish them off anyways. Nice. And we can disable that while we're at it. Oh, look. We don't even need the torpedo. They're dead. Nice. I think I'll just take the regular kinetic shot. I want more railgun attacks. Although I think I'm not going to take a common card for that last slot. I'd rather get something a little rarer. Like a cascade shot would be nice. Yeah, I think I'm just going to go through this elite combat and then hit the station, come back down, and then hit the boss combat. I think I'm ready. Got all my equipment slots filled. I got an extra crew. I got some decent subsystems. We're looking good. Alright, opening shot. Well, I don't want to take that, so I'm going to throw up a free surge. How do you like that? Yeah, so I'm not sure which of these is going to be more of a pain. Let's throw up a conservation. Start with the laser pulse. I'm going to work away on this one first. So we'll hit that. Fire that off. Now this PDC burst, they don't have any missile attacks, so I think I can fire this and then fire off this missile. And I'll be happy with that. Switch out of mass into more ordnance. See, yeah, the way that this thing works is it charges when you do hull damage to the enemy ship. That's what improvised flak does. And basically every turn that you do hull damage to them, it fires back with 6 damage, which is pretty heavy. So I'd rather not take that if I can avoid it. Right now this is only doing 2 damage. I'm trying to see what modifier is causing that. Yeah, I have no idea. Is it this? Oh, eutectic armor. There we go. -2 enemy laser damage and +1 enemy ignite while owner is not shielded, but after it takes enough hull damage that gets removed. Right. So I actually can't disable this right now. Now I know it doesn't have a pip in there, but the missile did cause this to trigger. It's just going to update after I play another card. So I think what I want to do is play this. Yes, there we go. Now it's showing. I've got 9 damage incoming. I could play the shield amp. So yeah, let's go with that. Play an ion missile. And then I'll fire both light torpedoes. Take 0 damage here. So opening shot was coming in, and then it got disabled by the ion missile there. Okay. So I can use the pyroelectric round to disable this. I think that's all I really need to do, yeah. So I'm doing hull damage, which triggers the improvised flak, but it's disabled anyway, so it's not going to fire. And I get to fire this for free, so let's go hit that opening shot. Disable that. So they're not going to be attacking for a while. Both of them are going to take 3 turns to repair, and then they have to charge up their attacks again. But of course, we're just going to kill them with torpedoes before it comes to that.
Target hit, Captain.
It's as simple as that. Another dynamo. Well, fortunately that's not going to be super useful because I actually can't fit that in there. So we got Uranium Slug, 3 and 3. It does 6 damage, which is the same as this, but it does feel 50% of its damage to a random enemy equipment on top of the one that it hits. Which, for a rare, is kind of like mediocre, honestly. It's kind of just okay. But, like, it's not bad either. It's just... It's okay. I'll take it. I'll take that Uranium Slug. I might trade in my shield. If I find a shield generator with decent cards, I might trade in my current one. So that I can get another shield unit that actually has 2 subsystem slots, and I can fit in both dynamos. That would be nice. That would be very cool. Or I might sell it here to buy something. We'll see. So yeah, Solari don't like me, so I have to pay a bribe to actually dock. See what they got. Command unit. Very good. See here, charged shield. This one's got 2 subsystem slots, so I could fit both of those. Shield initiator. Start combat with 4 shield points, which can be nice if the enemy's firing like a small attack on the first turn, but for a longer combat, dynamos can be much better. This is for flak. This is every 3rd attack deals bonus damage and heats up your ship. Not very important right now. Infrared emitter would be really good if I was trying to overheat the enemy ship, but I am not. Yeah, so the main things I'm looking at. I could grab this. This one's got reactor boost, which is one of the better options. You pay 2 mass and it permanently upgrades the reactor for the rest of the fight. That's pretty good. Alright, so if I can grab this, that also gives me another subsystem slot that I can fit a command unit into. That's not bad. I think I'm going to go with that one. So that gives me an extra card slot. Ordnance Surge. I mean, I do use up a lot of ordnance. So while a lot of these cards are kind of mediocre, I think now I've got a very wide hand with these extra command units. Which means I'm not going to be able to play all the cards. So just being able to burn this, get extra ordnance, and then fire off more attacks is actually pretty useful. And then the reactor boost. Yeah, I think this is a good choice. Once again, combat training. Now let's see. Yeah, I'm down to 34 credits. So in theory, I could sell this, get that charge shield, and then slot in both dynamos. And that would bring down those costs, but at the same time, a lot of these are just okay. Charged shield, I find. These cards are just okay. And I don't think I'm actually going to have enough credits to do that anyways. Not after getting this resource bay, which I think is a much better... I think that's a much better choice here. So yeah, that was a good grab. We're juiced up and ready to go. Now we depart. It's an allied waypoint. +2 reactor power for the next combat. That is a really good grab just before the boss fight. Wow. Alright, this is going to be easy mode. This is going to be a baby mode. Heavy fighting appears to be imminent, Captain. It might seem risky, but we could use the chaos to slip by undetected. It's not like we're left with too many choices by the looks of it. Turn back or be forced to open fire. This is no place for privateers. The people have taken matters into their own hands. Receiving an incoming hail from one of the ships also heading for the sector exit. These ships were captured or bought by deadweights. Their actions do not represent the will of our people. You can count on our support, Captain. So, here we go. That's the boss fight. Yeah, so the fire support they're talking about is this. You get a star flare every 3 turns. And this has the same mechanic that I showed you before with improvised flak. That's kind of the gimmick for the boss fight, if you can call it a gimmick. Right, it's just a big data-weight ship. That's about it. It fires off flak, fires off missiles, it has shields, this upgrades the stuff, and it's got that improvised flak that punishes you for doing hull damage. So how do we deal with it? It's firing off immediately. We don't have any defensive tools. Probably just going to break that. I mean, I did draw Erupted Blast on the first turn. And you can see, this is partly... Looking at this hand, this is why I've got the command units in those resource bays, plus why it was worth picking up that drop pod. Because if you didn't, I would have only have these 5 cards here. Getting 3 extra cards in your hand is a big deal. Even if I don't use this guy's ability, just the fact that I now have an extra card slot in my hand is very valuable. So yeah, we're going to lead off with this. Although I might actually... I mean, this is a boss fight, so burning through your command points is... This is the time to do it. So that does some good damage. Followed up with a test fire to disable that. And my next laser pulse is going to be free. I might want to disable their shield. I do have a PDC burst, so I'm not worried about star flares. If I can get their shields down, that'll be great. Yep. We'll hit it like that. So that's only down to 4, which means that the next laser pulse will disable that, and then they won't have any shields, which will make it very easy to then follow that up by disabling this, and any missiles they fire at us, I'm going to try and shoot down with the PDC bursts. Alright. Let's shift over to ordnance instead of mass. Alright, yeah, this looks good. Let's disable that. Retribution hasn't quite charged up yet, but it is going to be a problem starting on the next turn. Let's activate that. I want to fire an ion missile first to disable their stuff. Okay, so I've got hot reload active, so I can fire off something for 0 ordnance. It's going to be the retribution, and then I'm going to fire another light torpedo. Alright, and I've got both of my PDCs in hand. I've got a laser pulse. Got plenty of cards I can draw from. We're in a good position. The enemy's already down to 38 hull points, yeah. Honestly, I'm not even using... Wait a minute, I forgot. I've got 2 extra points of reactors. I forgot to actually... They don't automatically assign. You have to put those in yourself. So even without the that massive bonus, it's already going very well for me. So we're going to shoot down that missile. First things first. I think then we're going to upgrade the reactor. So now we've got 3 points to assign. Yeah, that's going to heat up the ship by 3, but we've got capacity of 3, so we're good. Target lock. So improvised flak isn't triggered yet, so I don't really want to, because I don't have anything to defend against it. I'm gonna wait for next turn to attack more. Seems like my next attack is not going to do a lot of damage. What's up with that? Oh, right. This isn't going to do a lot of damage because I heated myself up by using the reactor. That's right. It can't do a lot of damage. Okay, so that's 5. I don't really have any other attacks. Actually, I think I can use the PDC repeater to help finish them off. Can I do that? Is this going to work? What's the easiest way of doing this? Because they've only got 10 hull left. This is going to do 3. Or 5. So they've only got 5. I don't think I have enough energy for that. Unless... Wait, if I use conservation, I might. Either way, I'm going to fire this. Yeah, now I can just fire this twice. Oh, that didn't do it, huh? For some reason I thought this would do 3 damage, but it's only 2 damage. Okay. Should still be able to finish it off with this uranium slug by using balanced production. Or... I thought it was going to do mass for some reason, but of course not. Of course that's not how that would work. We can... Doesn't matter. We killed him. Either way, we killed him. Easy. Flak. Gonna sell that. Add a card. Let's see what we got. There we go. Torpedo. Compared to the light torpedo, 50% more damage, 50% more ordnance, and it requires you to have 5 production instead of 3. Overall, this just does a lot of damage for 1 card. It's rare, but it's worth grabbing. Yeah, there's nothing else I see that I want. And that is that. Now, unfortunately, the AI cores you could only install into your crew over here at a station for some reason. Not exactly sure why it is that way, but that's how it is. Oh, look, a station. Wow, how convenient. Captain, we are entering the EOS system. 1 fuel harvested while transiting the breachway corridor. Thank you, Yvonne. We're going to dock with the station. We can install the AI core and enter the hangar. A missile rack Mark II. That could be interesting. So this gets up to 6 cards instead of only 4, and it's got 2 subsystem slots. Potentially very powerful. I'm going to sell this immediately. Don't want it. So, coil gun. I mean, I don't really need a second weapon. This railgun, Mark I is still going to be fine. It's still going to be just fine. Alpha Strike could be really good. Getting an attack for free. That's kind of it, though. Combat training, of course. Why would we do anything else? Fuel's getting expensive, but it still might be worth grabbing some. I could sell this, grab this. Phantom Tracker Firecracker versus Starflare. I mean, I've got a missile loader, which is pretty... And is it that good? Is it, though? I'm tempted to go remove and start burning out the light torpedoes because, I mean, I really just want to keep going through combat after combat until I can pick up heavy torpedoes, which look pretty awesome. I mean, compared to all the other missiles with like the lighter coats of paint, this one's like black with like a red, the tip of it is like Sauron's eye, because it's gonna kill you. It's dangerous. Not like those other baby missiles. So I am tempted to sell this and swap it out for this, but I don't really have a lot of good choices for subsystems as it is. And I mean, if I need 2 missile subsystems, then I've got this and this anyways. So the extra slot would be nice if I had 3 missile subsystems. We're looking a little far into the future for that one. Alpha Strike could be okay, but I'd rather grab more fuel, to be honest. Maybe a little more reactor power. Yeah, there we go. Now I've got 5 production, which actually lets me launch my torpedoes. Perfect. I'm still going to hold on to this because I don't need to sell it immediately, but we'll see. We'll see if I actually end up using it. Maybe not. Maybe I won't end up using it. Wow, all the stations are clustered on the top side right next to each other, huh? How peculiar. Well, I guess what I'm looking at is I'm going to follow this current across the top, all the way down here, then go backwards up this way, and then cross to the middle, and then fall down this way. That seems like the plan. Conflict zone. What have we got? Now they're just going to attack us. Fair enough. Look at that gas giant. So, looks like the enemy's closer to the gas giant than I am. But I see if I can get it to line up. And that kind of looks like it lines up. Almost. Alright. So, Retribution, Star Flare, Rampart. Well, I know what we got to do to them. They do have 51 hulls, so we're not going to burst them down too fast. Got to respect their offensive capabilities. That is going to heat us up quite a bit. We have tagged them, so this torpedo is going to do 16 damage. That's pretty big. We have a PDC burst. I'm not worried about that star flare. I think I'm going to go...
Missile is in flight.
like that. And then what I want to do is add power, because we're going to dissipate before we actually take any damage. Like that.
Incoming missile.
So that should slow them down a little bit. I was hoping it would disable the shields, to be honest, so that this would hit directly, but fortunately that's not how it works. We're going to start with conservation, fire off the burst.
Enemy
That clears
missile
that.
intercepted.
6 damage here. And that should shut off the shields. The torpedo should finish them off. And we can fire off another attack for free. Thanks to hot reload, but it's not really necessary. We got him dead to rights. Ion torpedo. I guess that's worth grabbing. It's also rare. It does more ion damage, obviously, but it has the special effect that if it breaks the enemy shield, it also disables their shield equipment. So firing this in front of a torpedo volley is actually really nice. Because you can slam into the shields, hit them with a bunch of torpedoes, and then their shields are they're just gone for several turns. That's pretty cool. I like it. I'm going to try and remove those light torpedoes and replace them with heavier torpedoes if I can. Once I get down to these. Another conflict zone, yep. I mean, we've got a pretty solid setup already, so I don't think any of these fights are going to be too difficult. Flak barrage. It's mostly just about minimizing the damage that we take. Okay, that sling could be annoying, and it's going to be fairly easy to break. Let's see what we got. Throw up a surge. So right as it stands, I'm going to take 1 damage, but I could reduce that even more if I want to.
Missile launch.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with that. Wow.
Enemy shield.
We got our shields up so high that even after the decay, we've still got enough to block this flak barrage. Well, I guess that leaves us a lot easier to go after their shields now. Starting with this, it's a 9. Finishes it off. I could even use a barrier here, but I don't really want to. I think I'm going to right-click these because they don't have any missiles, so I want to draw more cards that aren't point defense. Titanium shells.
Target reached, Captain.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have enough to actually disable that, but I can just throw up a barrier and I'll be fine. How do I want to handle this? I guess disabling it, setting up so I can disable it next turn, I guess is probably the way to go. There's the ion torpedo. Don't want to fire that. I'd probably just fire off the light torpedo instead.
In flight.
Although I'm probably going to kill them before it hits anyways. We'll see. Hit him with that test fire into laser. Oh, I guess not. Well, maybe if I fired this first. That's a bit of a sequencing error, but I think we're going to be fine, even so. Boom. Yeah, don't really want that, don't want that. Mass Surge. I mean, if you've got like a few upgrades that are really expensive, like there's some that are more expensive than Reactor Boost. If you've got a few of those, then getting Mass Surge can be okay, because that gives you effectively a combo. It's like you can basically have no points dedicated to mass production, and instead just fire this off and then use those points to immediately buy your upgrade, and then you don't have to worry about it anymore. But in this case, that's just not how it is. So there's not really a point to that. Gonna skip and take those credits. Strictly prohibited, you say? Well, not if I just kill you. Did you ever think about that, egghead? Yeah, didn't think so. Let's see, Heavy Blast. It's only 12, though, so it's fairly easy to disable. Just like that, and then... yeah, so that's going to be a pain. Potentially. Potentially. Regardless, I think I'm going to fire off both those torpedoes here and missile loader. Yep, there's the missile defense. So I can try to disable this to force the missile through, but even if I don't, it's only going to shoot down the light torpedo, and the heavy one is still going to hit. So that's probably fine. Ordnance Surge is actually pretty good here, because I want to fire off a lot of attacks. Don't really need the repeater. I'm not going to right-click it just yet. It's a little early for that. Let's see. I'm not really going to be blocking this right now, so I think throwing up a barrier is a fine idea. I'm probably going to target the PDC, because this thing is 18. That's pretty expensive. Fortify could be annoying, but I don't think I'm in a position to take that out right now. And it's only 6 versus if I let the PDC fire, it's going to take out 10 points of damage. So math on that is pretty clear. Can't really target lock unless I burn force production. And that would take that up to... yeah, that would take it up to 12. So if I do this... that's exactly enough to disable the PDC. Now they're not going to shoot down any missiles. I can use this to make sure I can still fire the remaining missiles. And that's going to do a lot of damage. I think they're dead.
Enemy shield.
I didn't do the math on that, but I think they're dead. Yeah, again, I don't really need any of those. I'm just going to take the credits. Take my credits and cross my fingers to hope that I get a good subsystem when I get to the next station. Yup, they're still just coming after us. Come on, feed me more credits. That's all I ask for. I'm a fiendin' for some cash. Yeah, it's basically the same design as the last guy, because it's the same faction. The same type of thing. I think I'm gonna... yeah, I think I'm gonna go with that. Test fire into a laser. I should have fired the target. Sequencing error. That's fine. It's not a big deal. Light torpedo followed by heavy torpedo, and you know what? I'll even do 2 damage to you. There you go. The disrespect. And we end turn there. Now, if possible, once again, I'd like to disable that, but I also want to disable this first before I die. And by die, I mean take a smallest bit of damage, because you know, I would hate to see my ship get hurt. Even the tiniest bit of damage is unacceptable. Let's throw up a barrier.
Up, Captain.
Let's start targeting this, although it's a bit late, so they are going to shoot down the light torpedo. That's fine. Use this to fire off that. Yeah, and I guess the next turn we're gonna... yeah, maybe the uranium slug was just a bad choice, purely because it costs so much mass compared to everything else. Possibly. I mean, the other choice that I had at the time was the tungsten shell, which also costs mass, but it's less. Significantly less. Oh, look at that. Hot reload just in time for the eruptive blast. Let's go. That's what we like to talk about. Oh yeah, we're just killing them right now. No need to even worry about it. Yeah, don't really need grid fire, don't really need any of those. I think I'm good. Waypoint, what do we got? Oh, our sensors pick up a nearby. Nearby, you say? Oh, it's a reactor upgrade, though. Honestly, that might be worth going across from... Because I'm going to follow this stream down here. I could cross over this way and then come back up to pick that. Reactor upgrades are good. Honestly, that's probably the main thing I need, rather than more subsystems, but... You know, you can upgrade your reactor at any time. Subsystems you can only get if you see them in the shop. Okay, what do I want to start with? Probably Catalyst Pulse, Test Fire, Laser Pulse. And that should disable something. Yeah, I think I'm going to disable their shields. It's going to be a bit short, so we're going to use that. So you're not getting any shields, bucko. This thing is... It's calculated overheat, but this is going to be their main weapon. Missiles I can shoot down with point defense. I've got the PDC repeater right in my hand as is. So now we can fire that off. Activate that. Get a little extra income there. Yep, we're still hot. First things first. We're going to use this to shoot down that missile. I should have actually used conservation first, because it does count that one ordnance. But whatever. It's no big deal. Calculated overheat. I believe that is going to do damage to me. It's only going to do 4 damage. Yeah, I can't disable that. Because this fires, like, a heated shell every turn that does 2 damage. It's not a lot, but... I mean, if I want to do a flawless run here... that would be the way to do it. Yeah, sometimes you look at the attacks and you don't see anything coming, but there's like a sneaky little attack hidden in one of these buffs that they've gotten. So you do have to actually read what the enemy is doing. Remember, reading does, like, knowledge is half the battle. You know, do in fact read the enemy cards. As crazy as that sounds. Now this is... There we go, for free. Shoot that down.
Enemy missile is down.
And do I want to fire a torpedo or a star flare? Well, star flare is going to hit immediately, or the torpedo is going to take too long. I think I'm just going to kill them on my next turn. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm not killing them this turn. Huh. I'll kill them on my next turn. Just gotta make sure I have enough energy to actually do it. Because that's 4. That's 6. Yeah, that's an easy slam dunk.
Incoming missile. Enemy shields down.
Or I say it's an easy slam dunk, but of course I forgot to take into account their shields. Well, ain't that a shame? Yeah, I think the only thing to do here is to take the force production, and... because I'm not taking 12 damage from those missiles. No way. That's not happening. What have we got? Yeah, I mean, double options, but again... maybe the blueprint is okay. Wait a minute. No, the blueprint... Draw all support cards, yeah, which is itself an Ordnance Surge, so I'd pay 2 energy to pull out an Ordnance Surge, which I'm not really happy about. Somehow Reactor Boost is a tactical, and not a support card. That's a bit weird. And it seems like it would be. Alright. No, wait, hold on. It does pull up something. It pulls up the missile autoloader. Yes. The missile loader would be pulled up, and it would be reduced by 1, so it'd only have to pay 2. Even then, I don't think it's really worth it. Blueprint is sometimes useful, but in this case, nah. I think I could pretty comfortably get a little more capacity there. Sometimes I want that extra ordnance production. Shield malfunction. Lovely. Let's see what it is. First shield card played costs +1 energy. That's pretty tame. You can repair the malfunction for like 25 credits when you get to a station, so yeah, I think I can survive that one. It's not a big deal. How do I want to tackle this? Lacerate, beam sweep. Well, I don't really want to take that lacerate damage. And I'll probably draw barrier next turn to block the beam sweep. So I'm going to go after this drill laser. Lead in with conservation. What have we got? Laser. I think double laser and kinetic or uranium. No, I want to do a kinetic shot, so I still have points for the missile loader. And I could do an ordnance surge and still fire this off. Which, honestly, maybe I might want to just right-click the missile loader, but missiles are pretty good, so I'm going to go with that. I could do that to fire the light torpedo, but I think next turn it's going to be more valuable, yeah? I can right-click that. They don't have any missiles. So I drew shield amplifier, but no shield cards. So I can use her ability to give me some shields here, if I need to. But I might not. On the other hand, I don't need to block if I just break my enemy's weapons. Simple as that. Okay, so I do have enough energy for this. But I'm going to run out of ordnance, aren't I? Yeah. Oh no. Hot reload. I mean, I was going to use ordnance surge to pay for it anyways, but sure, hot reload. Good timing. Yeah, we'll just do that. So this is just rebooting. It's not really doing anything. That's fine. Let's see. I've got 5 ordnance. Let's start working away at that. And then fire off another missile. Don't think I'm going to be using either of these. Yeah, they're going to be massively delayed by the ion, and they're going to take a bunch of damage, so we're in a good spot. We're not quite there for the hot reload, so I'm going to work towards that so I can get a free eruptive blast, because that's pretty cool. So we'll disable that, and tag them, which then means that's cheaper. Honestly, let's just remove all the defensive cards because I'm about to kill them. Well, I'll hold on to that one just in case I don't draw the cards I need. Which I should, but we'll see.
Target reached, Captain.
Yeah, this should just kill them. There we go. That's another one bites the dust. I mean, I got most of the cards that I need. Now, ideally what I would have done is hit a station earlier, removed the light torpedoes from the missile pod, and then I could start looking for heavy torpedoes through all of these combats instead of skipping them every time. But, yeah, unfortunately, that's not the way things are lining up. Yep, more combat. And then finally we hit a waypoint, and then we can hit the stations and see what they've got. And then from there, we can just... Honestly, we could probably... We've got a lot of fuel, so we could wander around the sector a lot more, but I think we can just go for the boss fight. There's nothing after this. This is the last sector. That's at least in the game right now. So phase, don't really want to deal with that. So let's not deal with it. Next up, calculated auto. This seems like a pain. Missile defense also could be pain. This I can deal with using PDCs, so I'm not too worried about it. Let's shut that off. Fire an ion missile.
Missile launched.
Yeah, we're looking good. So this is going to do 2 damage every turn, plus this is going to be 4. Just got ionized. Nice. Okay, so, can I disable this? Yeah, I can do this and that. Fire off a light torpedo for free. I am going to take 2 damage here if I do nothing. So I'm going to produce some resources. Put up a barrier. And shoot a star flare. Yup.
Target hit, Captain.
It sure is. That's 6. That's 6. I don't think I can disable that. I think I'm just going to throw up another barrier. Fire star flare. I don't think I'm going to need that. I'm just going to shoot down the 1 ion torpedo, if necessary. Yeah, they're pretty close to dead, though. So now I don't have to worry about that every turn. And I can shoot that down.
Enemy missile is down.
And heck, while we're at it, upgrade the reactor. Seems fine to me.
We were hacked.
And let's just finish this. Easy. Just an absolute killing machine. Yeah, once again, don't really... I'm maybe a second ordnance surge, to be honest. But I'd rather have more credits. I'll take the credits. Give me credits. Alright, what have we got here? A reactor malfunction. Thank you. Yep, let's get in there. What have you guys got to sell me? So we'll repair those malfunctions. Let's see, we got missile lock. There we go. Plus 1 missile damage. And then on top of that, you get a Firefly in your drop pile if you do 12 hull damage in a single turn. That second one's not too important. Fireflies are 1 ordnance point to do 4 damage. And, of course, the missile lock itself adds plus 1 damage. So if you stack a bunch of missile locks, you end up filling your draw pile with Fireflies, but it's kind of okay because they just do a ton of damage if you have a bunch of missile locks anyways. In general, yeah, these are pretty good. I'm going to grab that. It's just a flat plus 1. If I had firecrackers, then it... Like that, stacking up missile locks, it doesn't just apply to the one you put it in. It applies to all missile weapons. So if I put it, whether I put it here or here, it applies to all my missile attacks. Doesn't matter. So if you have 2 missile racks, and you have 2 missile locks, then that's a flat plus 2 damage across the board. And if you have these at Mark II, then you can fit 2 subsystems, and potentially, I have done this, you can get up to 4 missile locks, and it's just a flat plus 4. And then the firecracker, because it triples that, it gets a flat gets plus 12. So that can be very impressive. But even as it is, we're doing really well. Don't really think I need any of these. Don't really want to change over to any of these. Yeah, I think at this point it's starting to look like I'm not going to get that. Don't want to use that. Primer. I mean, that is pretty good. I mean, there is one that's called Combined Arms that is also really good, where if you fire an attack from 3 different weapon types in the same turn, then for the rest of the battle, all your attacks do +1 damage. That one's pretty good for boss fights because you've got laser, railgun, and missiles. You just fire one of each in the same turn, and then for the rest of the battle, get permanent +1 damage. Because the problem you can run into is just running out of missiles in a boss fight. But with Combined Arms, after you run out of missiles, you've stacked up like +3 or +4 damage. So then, even if these two things aren't, like, these two things they'll just do so much damage that even if you can't play, even if you start running out of gas, it just kind of doesn't matter. Your damage numbers are insane. Yeah, I don't think I really want anything else here. Pretty much every subsystem is filled except for, I mean, this one barely ever gets filled. There's not a lot of options aside from primer, which I've tried putting primer in there and it's not very good anyways. This one, you could get another missile lock, but that's about it. I will remove one of those light torpedoes, and we're going to try and farm some combats to see if we can get a heavy torpedo. Actually, I might even burn some credits to try and get that right now. Trident torpedo. Now that's very rare. Requires 6 production. Splits into 3 light torpedoes a turn later. Yeah, let's take that. That's going to do some serious damage. But to get there, we do need even more production here. And we're going to need it, because that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot of ordnance. Let's buy a little more fuel. And let's get out of here. Let's skedaddle. Yeah, I don't think I'm actually going to hit up the other stations. I think I'm just going to explore and try to see what happens. Or am I? I mean, I could use a little more credits to try and upgrade my reactor more. So I think I'm actually going to go over here to this reactor upgrade. Like, normally I'd be hitting up all these stations, but I got lucky enough that I don't really need to. I've got a pretty solid setup as it is. Okay. So we're off to a good start. We've got Eruptive Blast, which is ready for the Alpha Strike. Shut this thing off. Is that going to shut it off? No, but it's going to bring it close. So yeah, if I draw anything on my next turn, then I can shut that off. And I draw something. So I did shut it off. Still tagged, so I guess I'm just going to fire off all my missiles. Like so. I'm not super worried about that, so I'm going to drop those. I mean, look.
Enemies ionized.
Even ionized it, so now it's lost its charge, so even after it repairs, it's still going to take some time. Okay. This Trident torpedo is going to take way too long. I don't think I'm firing that. Let's get that target lock going and fire this. And then that's going to do 12. If we throw in the Star Flare, that ends it. Combat is over.
Target hit, Captain.
Yeah, no, nothing to see here. Yeah, I mean, I could fly around and burn through all my fuel, but I'm just about ready for the boss fight as is, so I'm going to go grab this reactor upgrade, and then that's about it, honestly. No need to drag it out longer. I've already got this in the bag. Okay, covering fire, we want to disable that. So we'll lead with the most expensive one, because it's free. For free. Use that to finish it. Awesome. Yeah, I think I need to ordnance surge if I want to fire everything. Going guns a-blazing. It's truly Insano style. I don't think I'm going to need these. I think I'm just going to disable all of their equipment again. They don't stand a chance.
Target hit, Captain.
Let's take that, which unfortunately just disabled a bunch of stuff, but I can get it back. I might still kill them before the torpedo gets there. We'll see. No, I just drew missiles. Okay, so I guess not. Can't disable that, though. And this is going to do 12. How much is this going to... This only does 2. I can fire this turn, and then next turn I can fire it again, and that should do the job. Yeah. So they're going to go down to 1, and then I can fire my PTC repeater again to finish the job. Just like that. Yep. Yeah, I'm not going to get anything good down there. So I'm just going to take more credits. Let's upgrade that reactor. Get a little more energy production. Or maybe a little more mass production. Then we're going to go here, then we're going to go here. Get that free reactor upgrade. And then, as I collect more credits, I think I'm going to upgrade the ordnance capacity just in case I fall behind on ordnance production. And then we're going to go straight for the boss fight. The second one has a very different gimmick from the first one. I think it is pretty cool. Let's lead with Catalyst Pulse, Test, Regular Attack. Okay. I think I might want to fire this. If I shut off the missiles, then... I don't think I'm going to do enough to shut them off. Yeah, they're going to survive. Although I could... Ooh, I actually can't. Not unless I burn through a bit more. Which I don't really want to do. Instead, I'm just going to fire that. I'm going to use that. And in turn, I'm going to let them activate their Vengeful Volley. It's not a big deal. Every time we disable equipment, they get to fire a Firefly at us. But it's a Firefly, so it's not a...
Enemy missile is down.
Not a serious concern. Fortunately, it looks like we're out of energy for the most part. Which is going to be a problem. Let's discard that. Burn through mass to get that going. Let's get more energy production. There comes another one.
Enemy missile is down.
Okay, how do I want to do this? Every 7. So I can fire 1, and then I can fire the Eruptive Blast. Alright. Oh, man, the Eruptive... Okay, so... I think I'm going to fire this. They are going to respond with a Firefly on the next turn. Oh, no, because that's the missile launcher. Yeah, the missile launcher was providing that buff in the first place, so disabling that also shuts that off. Okay. Those aren't really doing anything, so this next one's free. I'll take this. I mean, you know you've got to do it.
Missile launched. Missile launched.
It's super overkill and it's going to take forever, but it is really cool.
Target hit,
You
Captain.
cannot deny that. And look at that. So the Starflares hit already, and now these are going to take 2 more turns, but that's a lot of damage. Now, instead of waiting for that, I can just kill the enemy. I don't have enough resources to play that, so we're just going to wait. Totally fine with that. I mean, I could just end turn here and let the torpedoes do the job. It's very overkill.
Target hit, Captain.
But torpedoes are cool. Skip. Let's get that. +1 reactor power. Excellent. And then in these next couple of combats, we should get enough credits to upgrade capacity for the ordnance. And then that should be fairly easy for the combat at the boss fight. Hey, I'm blue, you're blue, why can't we be friends? Come on now. You don't want to be friends? That's fine. I'll just kill you.
Shields up, Captain.
Done it before and I'll do it again. Let's shut off Reckless Assault. That one's annoying. And torpedo. And if I burn Ordnance Surge, I can get the laser pulse off, but I don't really need to do that right now. Yep, that's only going to get me with 3 ion. That's not affecting me at all. Alright. I want to disable their shield if possible. Let's see. That's going to completely block this torpedo. Use our mass to get those going. Yeah, let's just fire these ion missiles and hold on to the torpedo. Oh, we're actually triggered hot reload, so if I can draw something expensive, that'd be nice. Now that is going to do something. So ionizing me reduces reactor power, but, you know, I think I'm in a fine position regardless. Oh, wait. Yeah, I don't actually have enough resources to play anything with off of that. So that's kind of a waste.
Incoming
It's whatever. Yeah, I wasn't using it, I knew anyways.
missile launched.
Let's see. I've got 12 coming in. I'm going to go Surge Shield Amplifier to block that. Let's see, disable their shield amp. Not that they have any shields to amplify, so it's a bit of an odd choice. Let's hit that. And throw in another torpedo to this volley.
We've been hit, Captain.
Oh, you know what? I forgot. Wait, what just happened? So, the ion hit me, but the I'm not going to question it, I'm just going to leave it. It's fine. They're about to get demolished by an infinite number of missiles. Just think about the missiles and be happy. Imagine that the enemy's a boss instead of only having 23 hull. Just imagine this is a boss fight and the enemy has a lot of hull. Yeah. That's what we're going for. And once again, don't really need any of that. I'm glad I didn't take that second ordnance surge when I had the chance earlier. I don't think it would be very useful now, looking at the way things are going. Let's increase that cap. There we go. And I could go through another combat, but honestly, at this point, I'd rather just get to the boss fight, so I'm going to go the other way around. Burning out my fuel to avoid this fight. For no reason other than to save my time. This sector is locked down. Any ships attempting to leave are marked for termination. Buckle up. Wait, did the AI just say buckle up? That's, I don't know, buddy. That's too much personality. Try to sound a little more artificial. You're scaring me here. Alexa, sound more robotic. Preemptive blast does more damage the more attacks you have in your hand. Pretty annoying. But the real gimmick here is that this thing has a ton of hull, but you've got this command center, and if you destroy this, the ship just dies. So if you have a lot of precision weapons, like railguns and lasers, you can just focus on down the bridge and kill them. And I have done that. But because I've got a lot of missiles, I think I'm going to use my precision weapons to disable their equipment and just rely on the missiles burning through the hull. And that seems to work as well. So both going after the hull or going after the bridge have both been viable for me, depending on the kind of ship I've built up. Alright, a reactor boost on the first turn is pretty good. Sooner the better. I'm not sure if I want more energy right now or more ordnance. We'll see. I'm just going to start with more energy, because I do have ordnance surge. I want to burn through as many attacks as possible to try and minimize the damage I take from this. But on top of that, I can use her plus shield amplifier to block the rest of the damage if I need to. Disabling this is also a good option, but I also want to disable this to make sure that my missiles actually get through. I mean, it's a big hit, so let's boost the damage. Alright, that's a good start. Unfortunately, I have to do both of those on the same target to actually disable it. Okay. That's guaranteed to hit. Fire that as well. So I'm going to take 9 from that, which is not a whole lot. I mean, Torch Beam is a lot scarier because this applies a large ignite, and that can stack up and cause some issues. So I want to be more careful of this. Just taking 9 damage with no additional effect is not that scary. So I'll be comfortable holding onto my command points for a later turn. Yeah, he talks a little bit. I'm just going to ignore that. Okay. Start with conservation. This is a good time for the Trident Torpedo. Their PDC is disabled. I've tagged them with the laser. This is going to do big damage. And it generated a ton of energy, so we can switch over to Ordnance now. They're going to fire a torpedo, but I've got PDC ready. Yeah, I don't want to take 4 heat from this. That's pretty bad. So I am going to use her ability to block that. Heavy Blast 12 is a lot, but this is one of the weakest pieces of equipment they've got, so I can disable that pretty easily. And then I can block this. Okay. Let's see. Railgun plus Uranium Slug should finish that off. Can I fire both? Yeah, I've got plenty. Okay. And hot reload. Look at that. And I can... Look at that. Look, another light torpedo. Let's just amp it up, boys. Let's shoot down that torpedo that's coming at me. This does have Ignite too, but that's not going to push me over capacity, so I think I'm okay. Let's build more missiles. Oh, wow. Okay. And then let's throw in the ion torpedo. Seems good to me. Yeah, it's only putting me up to 2. I think I'm fine with taking that. Actually, I don't think I had an option, because this is on cooldown, and this requires me to have shields already. Let's see. Yep, they've got a little bit of a shield going. But we can fix that. Target. Lock. So this hasn't even activated yet. Can I keep it offline? Alright, this is not going to be very effective because my heat is maxed out. So it's going to be minimal. Minimal value. And once again, this is going to give me more heat. But I think I'll be fine. It's just going to make this pretty useless. Which is sad, but it is what it is. Actually, all of these missiles are hitting this turn, so Star Flares will join the volley. They're all going to strike at once. That's going to be... Huh, so I fired the Trident when it was tagged, but I guess because the Trident has to split into small torpedoes. Yeah, these did not benefit from the tagging. That's unfortunate. In fact, I don't think any of them are. So the laser tag kind of went to waste for all of these, but they're still going to do a lot of damage. What do I want to prioritize? Probably their weapons at this point. Let's prioritize that. How about that? I'm going to take a little bit, but I think I'm fine. Got plenty of hull to work with.
We were hacked.
We were hacked. That's unfortunate. But nothing like I can do anything. So, for the next 4 turns, every time I play a shield, they get 3 shield. I always forget about that, but we'll try to keep it in mind. Yeah, so it lagged out a little bit there, but we did a lot of damage. Epic. Okay. This is on cooldown, but we can keep it on cooldown even longer if we just break it. Oh, I should have fired the Catalyst Pulse first. That's a sequencing error. That's fine. I think that's fine. We're fine. Yeah, let's fire the Ion Missile. Use a PDC repeater to shoot down that torpedo again.
Missile intercepted.
And that's about all we're going to do for this turn. Yeah, their PDC shot down the Ion Torpedo. So this thing came back online. Let's break it.
Enemy shields down.
This is still not going to do much. That's fine. Yeah, that's not going to do. I might have to fire it anyways, just to break this. Because breaking it as fast as possible is nice. Honestly, these shields are kind of clogging my hand at this point, because I am going to shoot this down anyways. Both of their weapons are disabled. I think I'm going to discard these. A little bit reckless, but so be it. And yeah, let's fire that right now. Because it looks like their missiles, their AP... point defense is out of ammo.
Enemy shields down.
And now we're drawing a ton of Fireflies. But we can use those Fireflies to trigger hot reload to get this for free.
Missile launched.
That's pretty useful. And they also have very little issue getting past point defense because you just fire so many of them.
Missile launched.
Shoot down that Ion Missile. And then break this. Yeah, those Fireflies are going to do some serious damage. Now, we're only drawing 4 cards next turn, so we're kind of running out of steam here. But, I mean, look how close we are. All of their stuff is disabled. So it's not really an issue, is it? Yeah, they can't stop that. So this little Firefly is going to finish the job. Took more damage than I would have liked, but honestly, when this is currently the final boss, I don't think that matters too much. And that's that. We killed him. I mean, there is one time when I showed up to the boss fight, and unfortunately, I only had 9 hull at the start, and I managed to just barely squeeze it out by the end with only 1 hull. It was very close, though. Every turn was meticulously calculated. This one I played it a little fast and loose because I went in with 50 hull and a pretty good setup, so I was confident that I could just let myself take hull damage on a few turns and convert that into a win. So yeah, there you go. That's what the main game looks like on currently the highest difficulty. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.